3, 2, 1, end of test. King with a go.
Well, hello there, and welcome to another edition of Warbird Wednesday. My name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum, and today we're talking about another one of these kind of just post-war aircraft that was kind of doomed from the outset. It is amazing how many of these airplanes they actually produced, and all with very good intentions, but with the change in technology, they were doomed, so to speak, and that is the Curtiss, the XBT2C. For you at home, I'm not going to recite that again. I'm going to call it the 2C, and we'll go to that, but it was a Curtiss aircraft. It was a torpedo / dive bomber, Swiss Army knife design, and it was doomed from the very start. But first, Jason has moved me with, oh, look at that. There you go. I got a little smile out of him. But this one, it's got little ears coming out of it, the whole 9 yards.
You barbarian! Have you no cow decency?
Well, one of the kids in the education program will love that. Away we go. And we'll pick up another Curtiss product, P40. I'll go up and throw up a plan view of that. Greg, in post-production, can throw up the 2C as well. By the way, Greg, we're doing these. He's doing this AI thumbnails. They've had me Baby Shark and all the other thing. I love the V thing on the T-shirt. I do not know how you're doing this in post, but I'm going to come after you at some point because you're doing some very strange things with me in the thumbnails. But today, the 2C was the product of the Swiss Army knife thinking. Now, you got to remember, we've got Essex class carriers at the end of the war. We've talked about the Navy's kind of searching around, trying to figure out what their special purpose will be for post-war because of the atomic bomb. There's all kinds of debates going on. There's also debates going on with aircraft, and one of the things with these Essex-class carriers, they were trying to shrink the number of special-purpose airplanes, and so the 2C is a product of that. It was going to be a torpedo / dive bomber. Now, its cruise speed was 175 miles an hour. I want you to remember that because that's going to become important as we get further into this. Its first flight was in 1945. They built 9 of these airplanes. None of them survived up until 1950. They were all scrapped over time. If you know of any 2C parts that are laying around, I would love to know that. Tell me in the comments, because this is another airplane that there doesn't seem to be any effort at preservation. It just went into the smelter. It was based on the Helldiver. So what they were trying to do is basically re-engineer a Helldiver by adding a radio operator position, which made the airplane bigger, which we're going to talk about that. And that was the plan. So they would basically come up with a dual role airplane, and Lord knows we're doing a lot of that with aircraft that are now on Navy decks that have all kinds of different multi-missions. But back then, this was just starting to form. It had a Wright 3350 on it, so a much more powerful engine, which actually necessitated a larger prop. Remember that. We're going to talk about that in a second. The biggest challenge with it by upgunning the airplane was go back to the Essex class carrier. It had to fit on an Essex class carrier with the larger engine, hence a larger prop. With the larger prop meant bigger landing gear, which meant what? The airplane was taller. The airplane would not fit. So they had to do all kinds of machinations, that's a technical term, to get the airplane to sit down lower and get it to be able to get it to fit in what was the Navy primary queen of battle at that time, that Essex class carrier. That was ultimately a major mistake. And with that, I'm going to put the venerable P40 back on its stock, and we're going to talk about our salute today. And our salute is going to be to Curtiss Aircraft. Curtiss Aircraft, absolutely amazing company, built amazing airplanes. And honestly, at the beginning of the war, if it hadn't been for Curtiss Aircraft and these guys holding the line, and Claire Chennault and all that stuff coming back about the Zero, because nobody believed that the Zero was as deadly as it was, and a lot of Allied pilots paid the price for that, by the way, because we didn't train people early enough to be able to encounter that airplane in the Far East. But if it weren't for Curtiss and those airplanes, and the P40, which, had a lot of life all the way into, mid to late war, they're still being produced, still being used in different variants. It could have been a very different outcome. So if you were a Curtiss Aircraft employee, thank you so much. I don't know if there's very many of them around. If you were a Curtiss Aircraft employee, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And today we're going to do it with, you just went straight at it. Jones cane sugar soda. Let's not beat around the bush, right? This is cane sugar mafia just all over it. These guys aren't even hiding anymore. I wonder if they're on the food pyramid where this might end up. I think this might end up like throwing it out. But berry lemonade soda. This is a flavor I have never heard of before. Independent since '96. Were you born then? Sort of. I'm getting the maybe born then. Okay. Is that like you were maybe? Okay, well, you were alive. So you never know when these guys went independent. I actually got him to talk. I don't know if you heard that, but you could hear Jason's voice. This might be a first for the archive. 140 calories. Well, it has a QR code on it, so it can't be that old, but we'll go ahead and, he's shaking his head. Well, you're the one setting me up with this stuff. I think there's a trip to Mojave for you in the liquor store of doom. But to Curtiss employees, I salute you.
So good to have you again on the show here.
Nice.
And we are tasting something that is very blue.
That's not bad. Shaking his head. Dude, I'm setting you up here. The deal was you're supposed to try to poison me each week. You're letting Greg down. All right, we'll salute the Curtiss employees again.
Woo! That's a good soda. That's damn good. Woo!
That's actually good. It's stuff I cannot drink in my reduced state. But, also the challenge was all these aircraft companies talking about Curtiss after the war were trying to figure out what they were going to do. There was all kinds of consolidations and everything. So this follow-on plan for this airplane is not bad because they were just trying to figure out how to produce another airplane, keep the factory open. Ultimately, the airplane was severely underpowered. So much so that it couldn't climb but a few feet at full power with a full loadout. So it had real problems when it had a bomb load on it. The other thing was it could not handle a late wave off by a landing signal officer and make the traditional left turn, to get out of the way. And so that's a real problem if you have an airplane that can't do that. So by basically failing its carrier trials tests, and by the way, the information on this airplane is really spotty on its trials tests. So if you have at home more information on this airplane, I'd love to hear about it as far as its actual carrier trials. But when it was being tested, the inability to climb at a full load and the inability to make kind of that full power turn in a late wave off. A wave off is, where they basically missed the approach on the carrier and they've got to go around. And sometimes that happens very late in the process. If you don't have enough power to do that, you're going to probably stall the airplane and end up in the drink. and most likely you're not going to survive that. Most people did not. If the airplane rolled over like that, you were doomed. With that, that also meant that this program was doomed, and by, like I said, 1950, none of these survived, which is, again, sad because it would have been cool to actually see it. The airplane had like an interesting, I want to say, bubble canopy setup. It was kind of an intriguing looking airplane, and in its epitaph, I'm really surprised by going with that larger radial that it just didn't have enough power. But I think with the way that it was configured, it was just too much. It was too big and too bulky. And, you know, the Helldiver, and you can argue with me, but the Helldiver was not a great replacement anyways. But it saw combat, but it wasn't a great airplane. And so I think based on that and everything, it was kind of doomed from the outset. But you know, you never know. You throw it against the wall and you see what sticks. Even in airplane design, they try to do that. And that is the end of the 2C as it moved off into history. Now, if you're at home and you're like Jason and you're sitting around and you don't know what to do and you want to fly your airplane around, Jason does this. He runs down the hallways making airplane noises. You need one of these. This is actually the cutest damn thing I've ever seen. It is a P40 plushie, so click on the link. Jason will put down the one that he has well used and mail one to you, and you can get a little P40 plushie to have of your own. We can't do all of this and all these exhibits without your contribution, so click on that link in the description. We can certainly use a donation to make all of this happen. We appreciate it. It is tax deductible. Also, in the links, you can click on our education guides, and all this stuff is included in there. If you want to teach the kids about a specific lesson or an entire semester, click on that link, download those guides. They are free. If you came across us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, some other form of social media, give us a like, give us a heart, and give us some feedback. We love your comments, and a lot of that turns into us talking about other airplanes. So if you have suggestions, that's wonderful. But we would love to hear from you. My name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
3, 2, 1, end of test. King with a go.